What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Lockdown 23-1. Today we're going to be talking about the top 5 ways to survive a prison riot, alright? Prison riots are very, very scary. I've never been caught up into a whole full-scale complex riot, but I have been caught up in housing unit riots, alright? And as a matter of fact, I started one in Chesapeake City Jail, and I'm going to tell you the story about that at the end of the video. But first, let me go ahead and explain kind of what a prison riot is like for those people that have never been in jail or prison at all. Okay, let's say you're at a house party and the living room's filled with people, back to back, y'all are just partying, drinking, smoking. It's just filled with people, music blasting, and out of nowhere, fights jump off. And then you get punched in the face for no reason because you're just in the party and it's packed and everyone just starts fighting. Okay, that is what it's like. It doesn't matter if you have an enemy there or not, if you're caught up in the mix. Those people that have been drinking, some of my homeboys back in the day, if there wasn't a lot of girls there or we got bored, we started fighting people, man. We just started beating them up for no reason. Okay, that's just, that's just how we rolled. So that is the best way for me to explain how prison riots are. You could get caught up in it very easily and you would have nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and jump into the top 5 ways to survive prison. And like I say in most of my videos, these are not in any particular order. They're all very valuable and important to the subject at hand. You know what I mean? Rule number 1 in a prison riot. Okay, most prison riots happen outside in the yard. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them. And what's the yard surrounded by? It's surrounded by towers. Okay, it's surrounded by towers with people with bean bags, stun grenades, gas, and live ammunition. That is the facts, okay? They will shoot live rounds if they have to, all right? And it's happened throughout time. Now check it out. When you're on a prison yard, okay, the best thing for you to do is kind of to keep flow with everything that's going on, okay? Rule number 1, you never sit down or lay down until the police start popping off those gas grenades and stun grenades, whatever. Flashbangs. Look, do not lay down. Do not sit down until you are told to by the police, okay? Don't. Because if you're sitting down, laying down, trust me, man, I've seen it before. I've seen this before. Homeboy sat down in a corner. Next thing you know, he's getting stomped out and has scuff prints all over his freaking body because he wanted to sit down and hide. You don't hide, okay? You don't hide. You keep it moving. You want to keep moving. Stay with the flow. If someone comes at you with a weapon or something, you better freaking run. You know what I mean? That's all there is to it. Or fight and, take the chance of getting shanked up 61 times. Because I'll tell you right now, when you get shanked, it ain't just once or twice unless it's trying to be hidden during a prison riot. They're going to shank you 60 freaking times before you even know what the hell happened. You know what I mean? Rule number 1, do not sit down unless you see everybody else sitting down, okay? You are going to be a target. That is a weak move, okay? People are going to look at you like, oh, we're going to get him, Take my advice. Rule number 2, if the prison guards come in, the turtle squad, the goon squad, and they start popping off rounds and everyone's laying down, or some people, and you're still standing up for some reason, you better have your hands visible. Have your hands visible. Don't have your hands behind your back. Don't reach into your pocket because I guarantee you will get beanbagged from that tower or shot up with live rounds, okay? These prison guards don't know if you got weapons, Rule number 3, do not approach no freaking prison guards when they come in to the yard, okay? Do not approach them. Or if they come into the block during a riot, don't walk up to them. You are going to get freaking gas, beanbag, whatever. They don't care if you are, Captain Bootlicker of the Year. If you've done all the right things the whole year, they don't care, okay? They're going to drop you fast. That's all there is to it. And it's usually going to be by a beanbag. And think you won't die from beanbags? You can. My homeboy's dad got popped by a beanbag in his neck. Died right there on the spot. You know what I mean? Rule number 4, and I have seen this personally, okay? That goes back into the bootlicking thing, alright? Bootlickers is usually people that suck up to the guards for, get extra trays or something. Who knows what they're doing it for. Maybe it's just for a good cause. but they suck up to the correctional officers, okay? I remember during this riot in Greensville, everybody was throwing their trays, lighting stuff on fire, throwing it all out, and this one inmate, they let him out the cell so he could clean up the whole block, okay? That was the worst freaking thing he could ever do. Look, do not go, during a riot, do not ever, volunteer. Hey, I'll go clean the pod. Do not do that, my friends. Do not volunteer to do anything good. You better sit in your cell and shut the freaking hell up, or else you're going to be caught up, okay? This dude cleaned up all the trays. The whole time he was cleaning up the trays, people were shooting death threats at him the whole time. You know what I mean? People were throwing deodorant caps and all kinds of water on him, but he still cleaned up the whole freaking pod. You know what I mean? It was absolutely insane. So do not ever clean stuff up while a prison riot is going on. Just leave it there, man. The only thing you need to clean is what's going on in your cell. Rule number 5. Do not, I repeat, my friends. You can if you want to. You ain't gonna get no badge of honor for it, alright? You might get a badge of honor in heaven when you pass away, and the good Lord says you've done well, good and faithful servant. But you are not going to get rewarded on earth, okay? Do not be a freaking hero. You see someone getting shanked up, if you want to go save his life, okay, you better have some awesome freaking black ops martial arts skills, okay? Because if you go to save someone, you can either get caught up by the police might think that you are helping the guy stab him, okay? So that's out the window. Most guards, they're not used to seeing people go and be a hero in the penitentiary. No, they're going to think you're being a part of the problem, all right? And then the inmate, not only are you going to have problems with the guards seeing this crap, but the inmate is probably going to try to kill you next for trying to help the brother out, man. Okay, I tell this all the time, man. It's very rare to see a good Samaritan in the penitentiary, all right? For real, it desensitizes you. You'll see someone get beat up, jumped, whatever the case is. More than likely, if you've been in the prison system long enough, you're just going to walk right over them. You're just going to take a large step over the body and keep on walking. That's how it is in the penitentiary, man. Because if you help somebody, you're more than likely going to get caught up in something that you do not want to be caught up in. Do not be a hero during a freaking prison riot, man. Mark my words. And another thing, this isn't a part of the top 5, but let's say a prison riot's jumping off in the dorm, okay? Do not go run off into your cell. I know the guards say, if you don't want to have nothing to do with anything, just get in your cell and try to ride it out. I'm telling you, man, you don't want to go get trapped up in your cell, okay? And you don't want to be trapped up on the top tier because you could get thrown off the freaking tier. You know what I mean? I remember this place called Powhatan. It had 3 tiers, man. It was 3 floors, and there was no cages, okay? You could get thrown off the top tier and die instantly, you know what I mean? Or just accidentally fall off the top tier. They didn't have no cages supporting it in case someone decided to get froggy and throw you off the tier, okay? Stay away from the higher level tiers, okay? Stay on ground level. Stay out your cell. Don't put yourself in any position to where you can get cornered, all right? Stay in an open area. Try to stay with the flow. Try to not really get involved in anything. I'm not saying get involved in anything, but when I say stay with the flow, that means, try to kind of blend in without having to do anything. That's if you are not trying to be affiliated with anything. Now, I understand in other places like Cali, it's a lot different, okay, when stuff jumps off. But trust and believe, even if you're running with your own race in Cali, there are ways to duck and bob and weave and not get involved in a riot, okay, and make it look like you did something, but you really didn't. Trust me. I know for a freaking fact, not every freaking body in the race car, okay, that's what they call it, jumping in the car, picking which race you want to be with. Not everyone is going to be involved in a riot. There's plenty out there that are faking the funk. Trust me, man. It's just like blending into your environment, okay? That is key to the penitentiary life. You got to blend in, So those are the top 5 ways to survive a prison riot, man. Blend in. Never sit down. Never sit down unless everyone else is sitting down. Do not be a freaking hero, okay? Do not try to be a hero and clean up the pod. Don't clean up after these people are actually rioting and throwing stuff everywhere. Don't freaking ask the guard, hey, let me out, I'll clean it up. Do not do that. You know what I mean? Always keep your hands visible when the police come in. These are simple facts of life when it comes to the penitentiary riot system. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the story on how I started a riot in Chesapeake City Jail, man. Alright, it all started over cigarettes. That's what it all started over. I used to bring in cigarettes into the pod. When I first came into the pod, 2 different occasions I came into the pod and I brought cigarettes in through this little lining that's overlayered or flapped on the bottom of my t-shirt, and I brought in a bunch of tobacco and some strikers and matches that were cut in half and turned into 2, and a striker I would cut into 3s and sold them to a few people. But once the matches went out, I had a lot more tobacco left over, okay, and we didn't have no way to light it. And the people in my cell, we were a bunch of young bucks, and we wanted to smoke the rest of our tobacco. So we couldn't use the socket to give fire, put the lead in the metal in the electrical socket and it pops and it makes fire. You couldn't do that because there was a guard that would sit inside the pod at all times. Now they don't do that. The guard does not sit in the pod no more. It used to be a desk in the middle of the pod, and a guard would sit there without any glass booth or anything. That would just sit there and hand out razors, soap, and stuff like that throughout the day if people needed it. Hand out mail. They had a computer, a phone, and stuff like that, and they also held the TV remote controller behind the desk. The only way for us to get fire was to get the batteries out of that controller. And who was the one to get the batteries out the controller? Who had the biggest cojones of them all? That's right, Mr. Death himself did. And the only way to get behind the desk was to wait for him to do his rounds and walk around, which was every 40 minutes to an hour. He would walk around and the camera would kind of follow him as he did his rounds. So I wasn't worried about the camera so much. But as soon as he got up to do his rounds, and look, this is another thing. We couldn't get the controller ever. They didn't hand out the controller too much, hardly ever. And the people that did get the controller were the ones that cleaned up the most in the pod. Okay? In our cell, we didn't clean nothing up. We slept all freaking day, partied all night. And this particular occasion, the guy got up and did his rounds. I did a Delta mission on almost all my hands and knees, crawled up behind the desk. I rummaged through everything, every drawer, and it wasn't even locked. You believe that? Drawers weren't even locked. I went in the drawer, grabbed the controller, smashed the batteries out, put the case back on, and put the controller back in the drawer. Police had no idea that I did it. I went into the cell. We closed the door. We started smoking cigarettes. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, we see a little commotion downstairs at the desk, and it turns out one of the old heads, one of the guys that wanted to that had control of the TV, asked the guard to turn the channel. And when he went to go turn the channel, he realized the batteries weren't in the controller. They locked it down fast as hell, man. They locked it down and we were trapped in the cell with the batteries. So anyway, long story short, the batteries got flushed down the toilet because the guards were coming in to, search everything. And nobody wanted to tell anything. We were all involved. We were all smoking. We were all in on it. Nobody was going to drop dime on each other. We were going to ride it out to the end. So we flushed the batteries, and that was probably the worst thing we could have done because, to tell you the truth, I should have just taken the batteries down, taken a lick for the whole pod, and went out because we were on lockdown for about a week and a half after that. And the guys that loved the controller and wanted to be on the phone, they were all pissed at everyone in our cell because they knew that we were the ones that took them to smoke cigarettes. They knew it, you know what I mean? So these guys were threatening us the whole time, our whole cell. They're like, we're going to get you when the doors pop and all this other crazy stuff. I'm talking about some vicious stuff. So we were a little worried. Some of the dudes were like, man, I wonder how many of them there's going to be. You know what I mean? There's only 8 of us in here. We were all smoking. There was a couple guys that were smoking with us that weren't in the cell, but I didn't know if they were going to ride out with us. And it turns out they did. You know what I mean? But we were in the cell, man. My homeboys were even sharpening up their little 2-inch toothbrush. I was like, bro, that ain't going to do nothing. He's like, man, it's just in case of emergencies. And of course I had the sock with the soap in it, and back in the day they gave large bars of soap, Lisa bars of soap. They were thick, they were hard, and I had about 4 bars of soap and a sock tied up, ready to go in case of an emergency. So the doors popped after about a week and a half of threats and stuff, and people were so pissed that they were on lockdown because of us and the batteries. A group of dudes walked up to the stairs, man. It was about 15 of these dudes, and they were older guys, man. You could tell it was the freaking people that cleaned up the pod and worked hard. It was no young bucks involved in their whole clique at all. You know what I mean? So this was kind of a riot between the young guys and the old heads, man. Them old heads were pissed about their Westerns. They loved Westerns for some reason, man. I was like, man, we couldn't stand Westerns. You know what I mean? We hated Westerns so much that we were debating whether or not to wake up early in the morning and clean up just so we could freaking debo that controller. You know what I mean? Get the power to that TV. But we never did, you know. And they came up to top tier and we were like, bro, we spotted them. I was like, you know, they're coming up to the cell, bro. What are we gonna do? You know, like, bro, move the bunks. So we moved the bunks. We cleared a big open space in the freaking cell and moved the bunks as far away from the open area as possible because they were not screwed down to the floor. Now they are screwed down. We used to even bench press. Get people, we would tip the bunks over and get people to sit on the bunk. We would bench press all night long. Just bench press, bench press, bench press. Dips, dips, dips. Push-ups, push-ups, push-ups all night long. But anyway, these guys came up to the cell and they rushed it. They rushed the freaking cell. And as soon as they opened, look, the door has a locking mechanism. There's a door that you open and close. The control booth will press a button and it will open and close. But the locking mechanism, we could shove toilet paper or a t-shirt inside the lock and you could close the door, and even though it was registered as locked on the freaking panel, it would still be open. You could open and close at any time. You know what I mean? So it was open. They opened up the cell door, they rushed in there, and we just started freaking rumbling. And it was like 24 people in a cell full of 8 people. You know, that was to hold 8 people. It was a huge, like I said in the beginning of the video, it was like a huge house party. And for real, it was so much going on that it was easier for you to survive because there's just so much going on. Everybody was throwing so many fists that you could kind of just, you know, work your way through it without getting freaking beat down. You know what I mean? And after about 3 minutes, you know, people started alerting the police. The police came in, man, they locked it down. Everyone dispersed out the cell and they locked it down for another week or two. And it was all behind the freaking batteries, man. And as soon as they let us out again, we went into the gym and it was like a freaking, you know, we were on high alert for a while between the old heads and the young guys. We were always ready to go rumble again. All because I stole the freaking batteries out of the controller to light up a cigarette. And that is exactly how I started a miniature jail riot. Man, I'll tell you what, that was probably one of the biggest fights they've probably ever had recorded in a cell. I swear to God. Look, it was so many people, man. And the crazy thing about it, this is the crazy thing, I forgot to tell you this. Somehow the locking mechanism came out of the freaking door, so we were all trapped in there until they popped all the doors for everyone to lock in. As soon as they popped the doors, that's when everyone dispersed out the cell. But for real, we were trapped in this cell, all scrapping, and no one even knew until later on that we found out that the door was actually locked and we were all trapped in there, man. It's crazy. You never know what can happen, man. You never know what can happen. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the top 5 ways to survive a prison riot and the story of how I started my miniature riot in Chesapeake City Jail, man. It was absolutely insane. And I'll never forget it. Do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And also go ahead and check out the links in the description of the video. You can add me up on Instagram, Twitch, Twitter. I tell you what, I've been gaming a lot on Twitch. I've been living on it lately. So go add me up on there. It's absolutely free to start an account and press the follow button. You know what I mean? Until the next time, man, I hope you all have a safe and pleasant day.